All right, so now 6-3, we're going to talk about the power rule. Again, this is on your formula chart, so it's something you don't need to memorize. You just need to know how it works. So when you want to raise a monomial to a power, we use the power rule. So in other words, if you have something inside parentheses with an exponent inside, and there's an exponent on the outside, so a dead giveaway for the power rule is an outside exponent, you are going to do x to the a times b. So you're going to multiply. So now, first off the first three, I'm going to do odds today. When you don't have a coefficient, you just multiply these exponents. So 2 times 5, that would be x to the 10th. And then I skip over number 3, cd squared to the third. Now there is a 1 on c. Don't forget about that 1. So 1 times 3 will give me c to the third, and 2 times 3 will give me d to the 6th when I multiply. Okay, now moving on to when you do have coefficients, you have to raise the coefficient to the power. So whatever number to the power. And then you simplify the variables with the power rule, which means you multiply exponents. Okay, so now for number 5, I'm going to first have to take 2 and go to the 5th power. So in your calculator, you're going to do 2 to the 5th, not 2 times 5, 2 to the 5th. In order to get that up button, you press this button underneath clear, right here. You can see at the bottom of your screen. So I'll show one more time. 2 to the 5th. And you hit enter, and that gives you 32. And then you're just going to multiply your exponents. So 2 times 5 gives me x 10. And then I look at y. Y has a 1, so 1 times 5 gives me y to the 5th. Okay, for number 7, and I want y'all to be very careful when there is a negative. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take -4, and I'm going to leave it in parentheses because it's negative, and take it to the 4th power. So in parentheses, -4 to the 4th. And that gives me 256. And now I multiply. 3 times 4 gives me C12, and 4 times 4 gives me D16. Okay, number 9. I'm going to take 1/2 and take it to the 3rd power. So 1/2 to the 3rd. So alpha y equals 1/2 to the 3rd. And that gives me 1/8. Remember, I don't want decimals. So if you're getting decimals, convert it to a fraction. And then 3 times 3 gives me a to the 9th. 4 times 3 gives me b to the 12th. And c to the 5th. 5 times 3 gives me c to the 15th. So take the coefficient to the power and then just multiply exponents. Now when you're down here on mixed practice, so I'm still going to do these odds for you. The first thing you have to do is the power rule, and that's that parentheses with the exponent on the outside. The second thing you're going to do is your multiplication. And the third thing you're going to do is add or subtract if you have addition or subtraction. Okay, so here we go. Number 11. I have a to the 3rd times -a squared b to the 4th. So the first piece I'm going to take care of is this outside power, so a number outside of exponent. Okay, that means I'm taking -1 and taking it to the 4th power. So -1 to the 4th is 1. So this becomes 1, and then I just multiply. 2 times 4 gives me 8, and 1 times 4 gives me 4. And then I bring down the a to the 3rd times. Okay, I took care of power, so now this is multiplication. When you are multiplying, you multiply coefficients. Well, this one also has a 1. So 1 times 1 is 1. And then you add your exponents. So 3 plus 8 gives me a to the 11th. And then I just have to keep that b to the 4th. Now, if you don't want to write the 1, you don't have to. But if you do, there's your answer. Okay, for numbers 13, I have 6a squared b to the 3rd, so here's an outside power, and 1/3 abc squared. 2 outside powers, so that means you have to do the power rule twice. So we're going to do 6 to the 3rd, and that gives me 216. And then I just multiply. 2 times 3 gives me a6, and then 1 times 3 gives me b3. I keep the times sign. And then this time I'm going to take 1/3 to the half, to the second power. And that gives me 1/9. And don't forget, all of these have ones. So 1 times 2 gives me a squared, 1 times 2 gives me b squared, and 1 times 2 gives me c squared. So now I do my multiplication rule since there's a time sign. So I'm going to do 216 times 1/9, which will give me 24. When you're multiplying, you add these exponents. So 6 plus 2 gives me a to the 8th. B's, 3 plus 2 gives me b to the 5th. And C's, I have 0 and 2, so 0 plus 2 is 2. So my answer is 24, a to the 8th, b to the 5th, c squared. Now moving to number 15, I have 3x to the 3rd, y all to the 4th, minus 7x to the 5th, y all squared, times x squared, y squared. The first thing you have to do is these outside powers. So we're going to do 3 to the 4th, which is 81. And then I multiply my exponents. 3 times 4 gives me x12, and 1 times 4 gives me y4. I keep that minus sign. Then I do 7 squared because I have a 7 with a squared on the outside, and that is 49. And then I multiply my exponents. 5 times 2 gives me x10. 1 times 2 gives me y2. I bring down times x squared, y squared. Okay, after I do the power rule comes the multiplication. So I have a multiplication problem right here. So I'm going to just keep 81, x to the 12th, y to the 4th minus. I'm not doing anything with that yet. So now we're going to do 49 times 1. And 49 times 1 is 49. And then when you're multiplying, you add your exponents. So 10 plus 2 is 12, and 2 plus 2 is 4. The last step would be to add or subtract, and I have subtraction. So what I have to do for this problem is if my exponents are the exact same, so x12, y4, x12, y4, yes they are, you subtract the coefficients. So we're going to do 81 minus 49, and 81 minus 49 is 32, and then you do not change your variables and your exponents. So 32, x to the 12th, y to the 4th. Now, if y'all will try the remaining problems, that's all you have to do. Get it done. Ask for help.